Hi friends, strangers, internet. My name is Emily Hanhan. I love colorful makeup and colorful language. Today we are ranking all of my empty magnetic palettes. I want to thank a subscriber who left this comment. Thank you. I love this idea. I love when y'all give me video ideas. While I want to make videos that I'm excited about, I also want to make videos that y'all want to watch. So over here, I have a version of every empty magnetic palette that I own. I think all of it. I have these ranked and I kind of have a group of what I think are the worst. I have a lot in the middle. They're all kind of good and they have their different things. And then I have a couple of top favorites. So at the very bottom of my list, we have Makeup Forever in their large empty palette. I don't think this is the style that they're doing anymore. I believe the new style, the lid completely lifts off. It's not hinged. I hate this packaging. I hate this palette. The metal is not very strong, so it's warped a bit on me. I don't like anything about this packaging or this palette. Like, I would even think about reselling this, but it's gotten so beat up and it's just literally sat in my drawer. I haven't traveled with it. I haven't like gone long distances with it. I've moved from one apartment to another, but this is just a no. This palette, the one I have out currently, is $25, and while it's accessible, you can get them at Sephora, it's a no. It's a big no. So the next two I'm going to mention, another very mainstream brand, MAC, the MAC empty palettes. Similar to Makeup Forever, these are some of the first palettes that I ever bought. From my years of makeup indoctrination before I bought these palettes, I thought they were magnetic. This palette, I think it's $8.50, and if you get an insert, it's about $3. And same with this. The quad palette is $8.50, but it automatically comes with the quad insert. If you have pans that fit exactly the MAC size, cool. But they're not actually magnetic, and that annoys the shit out of me. I mean, they feel sturdy, but I just don't find myself reaching for these because so many of my shadows are slightly different. It just doesn't really work for me. So the next thing up is from Adept Cosmetics. This is the Adept Palette. This is a palette that they, I think, are very well known for. This is a two-sided palette, and this looks a hot mess because this is what I call this my reject palette, meaning shadows that I have that I'm just not reaching for, don't know why I got them. So the Adept palette is $32. Adept is always running sales. Here are my thoughts on this palette. The quality is top notch. There is a great weighted divider. This is a plastic palette. My issues are that the weight of this palette, once you have product in there, is very heavy. Like, it's a heavy palette before you even have any product in there. My other issue is that I have personally found that having shadows working against gravity has caused anything that was even slightly delicate to break, or just, they just don't hold up for me. I know a lot of people that love this style palette and swear by it. So this is one I'm actually thinking about doing a little Poshmark sale, or maybe like a blog sale. So this is one that I would clean up and resell because quality is there. But like, I had Julius Place shadows that I had like depotted that weren't broken when I depotted them, but as they've sat against the gravity, they just haven't held up well. So Adept is killing it with the quality. I just don't love this format. But don't worry, it's not the last you're going to hear of Adept in this video. So those palettes were kind of the ones that I didn't like. They were, those were the worst of the worst. The next kind of grouping, I'm going to talk through why I like and dislike different ones, but they all kind of land in a similar spot. So next up, we'll talk about Colored Raine. Colored Raine has these square palettes. They are $7. They do have a mirror, This is the first of any of the palettes I've talked about that have a mirror. So this palette is an interesting one. So I know they made this palette, they designed it for their Vivid Pigment set, which was 16 shadows. They would fit in perfectly. But they're still selling them as a separate palette. They feel nice. They're not too heavy. The mirror quality is nice. I don't find any distortion. They are a slightly thicker palette, so I think if you had a lot of them, they would probably end up taking up more space than you realized. But I do like this size. I think this is an interesting size that you don't always see. This is a palette that I use for color story curation. I don't use it for storage. I would say if you're picking up single shadows from Colored Raine or something else from their site and you're looking for something that's kind of fun and bright and bold, these are nice. They're nice. You can feel the like the printing. It's not, there's like a slight bit of raised texture, which actually is kind of nice. I like the color. It stands out. And like I said, the mirror is really nice. So if you're looking for like a travel palette, this could be a good one. It's not too big. Now, anyone's probably seen these. This is just like a generic little holographic mermaid palette. No mirror, but black inside. You can get these on Amazon or probably any major seller like that. This is a nice palette. I think this is this would be a 9-pan size, or if you have these larger shadows, you know, fewer. This is a little lighter weight. Doesn't feel quite as heavy, like the base or the magnets don't feel quite as heavy. There's not a mirror, so it also feels lightweight. I love the effect. I think it's super cute. I love the 9-pan size. I think it's a great size for, as I said, palette curation. They're a cute little palette to pick up, and I think they make them in different sizes because I've seen other brands offer them in different sizes and you know, situations. This one, when I looked it up, it was around $9. Now the smallest little thing I have, it's not an empty magnetic palette. It does have spots, but it's this little duo goals palette from Me Glo Cosmetics. Now this actually has a mirror in it. It has a little holographic edging, and it holds two Me Glo, JD Glow, Juvia's Place, these large size pans. I picked this up. They were testing out this concept, this like build your own duo, where you picked out the palette and then the two shadows. I think now the palette itself is $4. I'm not sure if there's any discount when you buy shadows with it, but it's a nice little quad. It's a nice little duo. I think if you have some of these big pans that you want to use as like highlighter, sometimes I'll do that. I'll pull two that I have that are more highlighter like, and then I'll throw them in my face drawer and kind of reach for it that way. Now the next brand up is Lethal Cosmetics. So I have two of the Lethal Cosmetics palettes because I've built two of their build your own palettes. Both of mine are white. They have a black one that I would really like because, as you can see, the white one gets really dirty. It's very pretty. If you look up close, you might see it on camera. There's like lines kind of embossed into the palette. Like, it feels smooth, but there's that little bit of shine, and you can see the line work. It's on the back too. There is a mirror, and there's some of the line detailing on the black here. It has a cute little thing on the bottom that says objects in mirror are braver than they appear. And this holds 12. It holds 12 lethal shadows. I really like this size, similar to my like of the Colored Raine palette. I think this is a nice size for building color stories. I don't use it as much for straight storage. It feels nice, besides the fact that it gets really dirty. I think this is good. So these are $12 on the Lethal site, but their build your own palette situation, I feel like I'm not sure how it works out, but I'm pretty sure you're not paying $12 for this palette. Like, I wouldn't go back on Lethal and order palettes alone, but I would build another palette. I would do another build your own palette. Okay, so Makeup Forever. I hated their big palette, but Makeup Forever actually has some great small palettes. They have a couple of sizes. So this is their quad size. It comes with a mirror. It's plastic. It's magnetized. They also have a slightly larger size. I think it's like 1.5 of this. So I think it holds around like 6 shadows if they're the normal size. And they have like a little trio pan. All of those are $2. They're all on the Sephora website and they're $2. I think if you're new to single shadows and you want to buy some and you are already buying something from Sephora, you need to meet your free shipping cap, all those things that we convince ourselves. I actually think these are a good starter palette. They don't have a huge size range, but I kind of think you can't beat like the cost and what you get for these little palettes. So next up, I have this random Morphe palette. I did not even know that Morphe made empty palettes. Now, this was actually painted, so it's normally just all black. I bought some like barely used Sydney Gray shadows from somebody, and they had painted this palette and included it with the shadows, and I thought that was super sweet. It's another like decent cardboard style palette. It does have a mirror. It's a nice size. I think this is maybe their medium, and it's $8 on the Morphe site. Y'all know I don't like Morphe, but I have to say this is like a fine empty palette. And again, it's another good size. This I actually used for storage for a while. I had all my, or like 95% of my lethal shadows in here. So I'm not mad at all about this one. Okay. So next up I have Julius Place. So Juvia's does these large, beautifully bright color pattern kind of palettes. Again, they're cardboard. These do not have a mirror, which I don't think you need in a palette this size. Something I also wanted to note. So these, when you first get them, they don't feel like they would bend all the way back, but you can do it. It's kind of like cracking a book of a spine. You just got to do it, and once it's kind of used to it, it'll stay like that. I love that in a palette. I find it super, super useful because especially when there's not a mirror, this would take up so much more space on my tabletop than it does when it's folded up. It holds quite a few shadows. It's a fine palette. Like, I'm kind of neutral on Juvia's right now for reasons, but it's not a bad choice if you have a lot of shadows or if you have a lot of large shadows. Again, this is more of a storage palette than it would be like a curation palette. This is $15, but Juvia's is always having sales. When I was looking at their site, it's like $12 right now. Since I mentioned that, this palette can also fold completely back. Can't do that with this one, but the mirror does like stay. Lethal folds completely back. This one doesn't really fold all the way back. I think the squishy texture kind of prevents it. And Colored Raine folds completely back. So that's also really nice because even though there is a mirror, sometimes you don't need that. Random little details that are important to some. Now the last few in the stack are all top runners. I think I've talked about these a lot. The Ulta Brand Z Palettes. Z Palette is they kind of buried themselves with the way their owner behaved. So these are $20. If you are looking for a palette this size, which I think is about 28 shadows, never buy full price. So the Ulta Brand, which is what they marketed this under, is always on sale in some way. I bought like 4 at one time, and I'm pretty sure it was buy 2 get 2 free, so they were $10 each. At $10 each, I feel much better recommending them. They do fold all the way back. They don't have any mirror or like the cover. This one feels super strong to me. It doesn't bend, it doesn't flex. But I know other people have had issues with Z palettes collapsing, you know, during travel. I mean, if I really press, yes, it does flex actually. I stand corrected. So these were like kind of a go-to recommendation for a long, long time. And I'm still going to use them. They're more of, again, a storage thing than a curation size for me. But I probably won't buy any more because of the ones that I found. So, Shop Missy. We have 2 sizes in this, but I'm talking about them separate. Shop Missy does these palettes. So, this is one that has no mirror, but they do make the same size with a mirror. This doesn't really bend all the way back, but I might be able to force it. The thing that Shop Missy does, this 28 pan palette is $6. I think if you get one with a mirror, it might be $7. But for this size palette, I wouldn't even worry about picking one that has a mirror in it. This is another Shop Missy palette. And the difference between these two is actually, so this one has a mirror in it. It also has like a glossy feel to it, whereas this almost feels matte. I think that makes this easier to clean. But the thing that I've noticed with this big palette, this mirror is not a great mirror. Anyway, the thing that I love about Stratman Sade is they do all kinds of different prints on the outside. So, you know, there's marble, there's these weird eyes and lips and spacey, not space, sciencey things. There's florals. I've seen wood grain. Maybe I've seen animal print. I've seen geometrics. For a 28 pan palette, this is the one that I recommend. These I think are a great price, and they are often doing some kind of sale or shipping special or something. I think for $6, $6 to $7, that's not bad. But the thing that I love from Stratman Sade, I don't know why I love them so much, but they're 9 pan palettes. I love these palettes. I love this size for building a palette, like building a ColourPop Huda Beauty kind of dupe. It has a mirror. In the smaller size palette, this mirror is fine. Like, I don't get the distortion that I get on the big one. There's all kinds of patterns. I have a bunch. Like, I probably have like, I would say probably 5 or 6 in my collection. I love this size. I think it's great. Like, something I actually love to do is use this size pan, throw in a deep potted blush, a little like highlighter that's the size of an eyeshadow, a couple of other eyeshadows, and you have a super simple, like, I could throw this in my bag and do my makeup on the train or do my makeup when I get to like the office if I was in that kind of commuter life. I just love the size, the look of these little palettes from Stratman Sade. I think these are $4. Yeah, they're $4. Here's what I would say. If you're the kind of person that has a lot of single shadows, you don't necessarily feel yourself reaching for them, maybe because you feel overwhelmed, I do really recommend having a small size palette like this to just play around and build your own little color story. I find they come so in handy. And again, they're just cute. They get dirty, they get all stained up. I've had shadows break, they get grubby. So in that way, like, they're not like perfect, but they're really nice. They feel like the perfect balance to me of like price point and function and aesthetic. But the thing that's at number 1, which doesn't surprise me because of the quality, the brand, but I'm surprised that I picked this as top. Oh, the Adept Croc palette. I've literally been all over the internet saying I don't like large palettes. I don't. This is a big palette, but this is so well made. Okay, so it's glossy, which means like you could clean it. There's no mirror, but you see it's printed with Adept Cosmetics. It folds completely back, which is extremely important for a palette this size. The lid has the beautiful Adept imprint inside, but the lid's also, it's like a 2-layer thing. I think because it's 2 layers, I don't feel like there's going to be any possibility for this to warp, especially because I'll put this at the base and stack other palettes on top. This is obviously a storage palette, and this is probably the most expensive. This is $30. If you're one of those people that has shadows and you really want to like get it down to one palette, this might be the one for you. I originally saw it on Hannah Louise Poston's channel. I know Teresa's dad has bought it. I was really unsure about it, but just recently I was like, you know what? Let me give it a try. Here's my thing. So I've said on the internet how I don't like large palettes. Like I've said, like I think I was commenting on a Davina Cosmetics post about empty palettes, and I was like, I don't want large palettes because that blue Adept palette, I'm sure I've told this story on my channel. I think it's like 2 years ago now. I had that palette full of shadows and then cats and a hard tile floor, and I left it out because I'm stupid, and I lost like a lot of my single shadows. So I'm super nervous about having a large palette. So like, I don't want this to be something I lean on for day-to-day, like kind of pulling out and using, which I know sounds silly, but I have been doing that. But It's a great storage palette. And the other thing, okay, I'm all over the place because I really like this palette and I'm kind of like lost my train of thought. I thought big palette, I thought a palette this size was gonna be like probably 25 or 30% larger. The reality that this is the size of 2 of the 28 pan palettes. And I think this holds like 64 shadows for your regular size pans. It is bigger, but it's not so big where it feels like a tabletop. And it's just beautiful. Adept is coming out with more palettes and they're doing smaller sizes. And I gotta give them like preemptive props because they're doing a palette that has an insert, but the insert can be taken out. I'm so excited because the quality of this is spectacular. The quality of the plastic one, the two-sided one that I didn't like, is still amazing. And not everybody is gonna feel like they can spend $30 on an empty palette. I totally understand that. I don't know what got into my like little brain when I decided to make this purchase, but I've only had it for a couple weeks, but I don't regret it at all. So that's it. That's all of my magnetic palettes. I would say if you're on a budget, go shop Miss A. If you want to do small palette curation, definitely go shop Miss A. If you gotta get something that's at Ulta, get it on sale. If you gotta get something that's at Sephora, these small Makeup Forever ones are pretty nice. So that's kind of how it sums up for me. If you're watching and you have a favorite palette, especially one that I haven't mentioned in this video, leave it in the comments. I want to hear what you like. Do you disagree? Do you love a palette that I hate? Or do you hate a palette that I love? If you would like to follow along with my colorful shenanigans, I would love for you to subscribe to my channel. If you've already subscribed, you know I appreciate you so much. Thank you to my patrons. If you feel like supporting me a little further on the internet, my Patreon is linked in the description box. I'm on Instagram and Twitter at Omnivorous. And no matter what, thank you so much for spending a little bit of your day with me. I'll see you again real soon. Bye, friends.